Well, tomorrow I'm going to be making some chili, and it's what we call chili for people who like chili, because we're not going to be using ground beef in it. We're going to be using some smoked chuck roast, which means we have to smoke a chuck roast tomorrow, which means today need to get it seasoned up because I like to get that done the day before, which you all know if you watch enough of my videos. So let's get that rub ready. We're starting with 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of a coarsely ground black pepper, 1 teaspoon of granulated garlic, half a teaspoon of cumin, and 2 teaspoons of Chorizo Seasoning. This is a seasoning mix which I get at my local grocery store. Really good. I mean, I guess you could use it to actually make chorizo sausage if you're going to, but I've used it on things like pork butt before, and it's really nice. Just going to mix this together a bit. We don't need a ton of seasoning because the chuck roast is going to get flavor from the smoke and also from the chili after we put it into the slow cooker. Because yeah, we're going to finish this thing in the slow cooker. So let's get our chuck roast out here. So this is about a 3-pound chuck roast, and we're just going to sprinkle our seasoning on it on both sides. This right here has some good surface moisture, so I'm not worried about adding a binder to it. Again, we don't need to go super heavy on the rub. Get a little bit on the edges. I'm not doing any trimming on this. We're just going to let it go, let it ride. All right, that's looking good. Let's get a rack under this. I like to keep it up off the tray because if it sweats out any juices, I don't want it sitting in those. And now this is going in the refrigerator overnight, and tomorrow I'll see you out at the grill. We're going to do this on the Weber kettle, smoke it up. It'll probably take 4 or 5 hours out there to get to the doneness that we want, because we're going to take it inside at the time that we would normally wrap it. So usually about 4 or 5 hours, that's when a chuck roast this size for me ends up at that stage, sort of that stall stage around 160, 150, where you want to wrap it. And we're just going to take it in, get it in our slow cooker with the rest of our great ingredients, and make that super duper tasty chili. All right, say it with me. The Weber kettle is up to temp. My target today is 250 degrees. We've got that chuck roast, which has been soaking in our rub overnight. Need to get it on here, like I said, for about probably 4 or 5 hours to get the color we want, to get it started, get some good smoke flavor. Going to be using some white oak today once we get our chuck roast on. After that, going inside, going in the slow cooker with a lot of other ingredients to make a great chili tonight. So let's go ahead and get our chuck roast on. Now I'm using the Mallory firewall with the Mallory cast iron grate. I have it set up in a 2-zone system for a longer cook. Let's get some white oak on here. All right, let's get our lid on, get smoking. We'll come back in about an hour, check, and see if we need to spritz. All right, our chuck roast is out on the Weber kettle, starting to get that smoke flavor. We need to get the rest of the ingredients going in our slow cooker here. First ingredient, and probably most controversial, I'm using 3 15-ounce cans of kidney beans. Yeah, beans in chili. I make it both ways. We sometimes make this chili without beans, but this one's getting beans today. And once I get my first ingredients in there, I like to turn on the slow cooker. So I have it set at 10 hours on low temperature. That's usually what I do chili at. Next, I'm adding 2 28-ounce cans of tomatoes. One is a diced tomato and the other is a whole crushed tomato. I want to get a good tablespoon of tomato paste in here. I've got half of a small red onion that's been roughly diced. I've got 11 ounces, which is one of those small sort of plastic containers you see in the grocery store, of grape tomatoes. I've got 16 ounces of frozen fire-roasted corn. This is straight out of the bag. Just want to give everybody a little bit of a mix here. Now for our initial seasonings, and I say initial because once everything's together and you're getting close to the end of this cook, maybe an hour or so away, I always like to taste and adjust for seasoning. I may add more salt, I may add more cumin, really just depends on the taste. But we're starting with 2 teaspoons of kosher salt, 2 teaspoons of granulated garlic, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 2 teaspoons of chili powder. I'm using an ancho chili powder, and if you don't like heat that much, just, lower this as much as you want. Let's give this a stir. Oh, once those seasonings start coming together there, it smells great. Even at this point when everything's cold. And that's it. We're gonna get the lid on. This is gonna continue going while our chuck roast smokes. And when our chuck roast is to the point out there that I want it, probably 4 or 5 hours, that's about the time it would reach the stall. It's gonna come in here and join the party. See you back here when that chuck roast is ready, but I'll see you out there before that. All right, 1 hour down. Let's open this up, take a look, see if we need to spritz, see if I need to add another piece of wood. I may not need to, but we'll see. That's got some great color on it, but I definitely can see that I need to spritz. I didn't add a water pan in here today because it's gonna be a little bit humid, so spritzing should do a good job here. And I am going to add another piece of white oak here just to kind of continue our smoke. So I'm going to close this up and we're going to come back in another hour, check and see if we need to spritz again. See you back here in about an hour. All right, we are at the 2-hour mark. Let's check our chuck roast, see if we need to spritz. Temp's been holding really steady right at 250. We're still going to have at least a couple more hours to go, but let's take a look. Oh, that is looking gorgeous. Give her a piece of white oak a turn over here. See if we got any more smoke left in it. We've got good surface moisture. We don't need to spritz this time, so we're going to get the lid back on. Let this keep smoking, and I'm going to come back in 2 hours. We're going to let this go for 2 hours straight. See you back here in a couple hours. All right, we've been going 4 hours. We're going to check our chuck roast now. What I'm really looking for is the exterior. I want to see that color that I want. That sort of just pre-development of bark. It's going to be probably moisture still, but it's going to finish cooking in the slow cooker. So let's go ahead and see if we're ready. That is exactly what I want. The color is perfect. That's sort of rich mahogany color. So it's time to get this off here, get it inside, get it in our slow cooker. And near the end of the cooking process in the slow cooker in several hours, we'll just be shredding it in there, and that really brings this chili to the next level, to what we call chili for people who like chili. All right, our slow cooker's been going for several hours now. We're gonna open it up, we're gonna get our chuck roast in, just kind of let it settle in there, and then we're gonna close it up and we'll let it go for probably another 4 hours before we even check it. Looking good. And give it a little stir here. Wow. The smell is great right now. It's too early for me to want to add seasoning to adjust anything, but I just want to get a taste and see how we're doing. It's got that chili flavor developing really, really nice. But let's go ahead and get our chuck roast in here because that's also going to add flavor to this. Gonna let that settle in there. I'm gonna get the lid on. Like I said, we're just gonna let this go. We'll come back in about 4 hours and give it a check. See you back here in 4 hours. All right, our chuck roast in our chili has been going for 4 hours now in the slow cooker after, was it 4 hours outside? Let's take a look and see how we're doing. And I'll show you how I check to see if it's tender enough. It's really simple. As we can see, our chuck roast has settled down into our mixture here. Oh, let's get that up here so we can check it out. And it's getting tender, I can tell, because it's starting to come apart at that seam there. But what I like to do is take 2 forks and get in there and kind of twist it and see if it's shreddable yet, because really this is what we want. We want to shred this when it's tender enough. My guess is it's not at this time, but we'll see. Get in there, 2 forks, and just twist. You can see it will come apart, but it's not really coming apart easily yet. Now here's a little piece of that chuck roast that I kind of pulled apart from there. It's really not tender enough yet. I'm guessing it's going to be another 2 hours, but let's go ahead and take a taste of this and just see how the flavor is and about how tender it is to the bite. It's going to be kind of hot. Flavor-wise, really nice here. I think I am going to add a little bit of cumin to this right now. Just a little shake of cumin across the top here, and we'll mix that in. That's maybe, I don't know, 1/4 teaspoon. And also like a good pinch of kosher salt, maybe 2. Give this a little stir right there. Push our chuck roast down. The other thing you can do is you could take a scissors and start cutting the chuck roast into chunks. In fact, you know what? I might do that right now. Sometimes that can help it along. And if we need to thicken this up anymore, if you like it thicker than this, you can add some more tomato paste. But honestly, this is going to thicken some more here. I think it's got another probably 2 hours to go. But we're just going to go down in here with our scissors and the chuck roast, cut it into some pieces. Just break it up a little bit. Wipe off my rim here a little bit. Let's get our lid back on, and we're going to come back in 2 hours and check, and it's probably going to be pretty close then, if not done. All right, our chili has been going another 2 hours here. So that's a total of 6 hours in the slow cooker, 4 hours out on the grill, smoking up. Now, if you wanted to do this, a really simple way is you could smoke up a chuck roast ahead of time, a day or two before, put it in the refrigerator, and then when you're ready to make the chili, just get it in there at the beginning. It's probably still going to take 8 to 10 hours at low. That's usually what I find it to take. You could do it at high or at a higher temperature in your slow cooker, but I really like that little bit of a slower process for it. But now, let's see how we're doing, see if we're done. I'm betting we are. Oh, that is looking outstanding. It smells so good here right now. And as you can see, those pieces we cut up are shredding more, and if you press against the side, they just fall apart. So when I said you can use the fork to shred them, that is one way to do it. But if you cut them up like I decided to do there, that's another way, and they just continue to tenderize in here. And this is exactly what I'm looking for. Let's take a quick little taste, see if we need to adjust for any seasoning. No, that's it. Spot on. It's time to dish this up. Now, I know a lot of people put things on their chili, sour cream, cheese. Doesn't really matter. I want to taste this just as it is so I can get a good idea of how we did. Let's dive in. I'm going to get down in here and try and get a little bit of everything. Some of the meat, some of that corn, some of the beans, and it's probably going to be pretty hot, so here we go. The meat is dissolving like butter. Just like if you did a chuck roast for pulled beef and you took it to that perfect state of tenderness, the combination of what we did outside and what it did in the slow cooker with all those other ingredients just made this meat incredibly tender. There's a reason we call this, in this house, chili for people who like chili. It does take a little bit of an extra step to get that chuck roast just right, but man, at the end of the day, it's perfect.